Oh my gosh. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the post-episode issues. I'm Phil, the Issues Guy. We're back for 24, Live Another Day, episode 11, or episodes 10 and 11, hours 8 to 10 p.m. Sorry about last week. It was the 4th of July, and as I mentioned in my recap video that you can watch here if you haven't, or my update video that you can watch here if you haven't watched yet, I'm going through a lot of stuff, so it was hard to get out here last week to talk about Jack Bauer. But we had to get out here today to talk about the 2 episodes leading up to the season, possibly the series finale. I thought it was very interesting in the scenes for next week. I know I'm getting way ahead of time. They said the 24 finale. They didn't say the series finale, season finale, whatever. But anyways, it's good to be back. And if this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button, and please also use the comment section to tell us what you thought about this season of 24. And with me on this 24 adventure, dragging him through the mucks of mundane action, I bring my friend, my co-host, Joe Dirtylocks. Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Interesting to point out, too, even though they said 24 finale, and I've been thinking about this spin-off this whole time.
Yeah, the Kate Morgan spin-off.
Another show that these guys, the producers of Homeland and 24, are putting out right now that's coming out soon. I've been seeing the advertisements for it everywhere, and I forget the name of it, but they have something else coming out, so it might not be a spin-off, or maybe that is the spin-off, and I just haven't seen her in the previews. But
I've also heard that 24 is taking to the scene. They're going to be out at San Diego Comic-Con, so possibly if there's to be more 24, that might be the place that they announce it.
Why would there be after-season hype for a season that wasn't really like popular in the first place or hyped in the first place? So maybe there is more to come.
I mean, it's
the 24 movie that everybody's been wanting for so long.
This could be the lead up to the 24 movie, because at this point in time, right now, we're gonna talk about both episodes leading up to where we are. But at this point, right now in time, we're this close in the 24 universe to be at war with China and Russia. I mean, it's happening. It's happening. We're ready for it. There's a lot of tension going on. I say this a lot, and I've said this throughout the season. 24 isn't perfect. It's silly. There was a lot of, like, especially in last night's episode, we'll get to it, there was a few Frank Drebin Police Squad moments where it was like silly stuff you'd only see in a comedy happening. We've got to stop Jack Bauer. Yes, you can't get us this time. I mean, there was some of that kind of stuff going on, but with 24 gets my heart racing, I think, like no other show when it's hitting its marks correctly. And I think, for me, the later half of this season has been really, really great with the action. It had a little bit of a slow crawl, but when you see Jack Bauer and Kate Morgan as these unstoppable agents, last week they get hit by a truck, basically hits them, they walk out of the car unharmed. He's like, oh, dusting stuff off, and then they go and they destroy a whole Russian army of horrible hitmen that they sent to get Jack Bauer. And you get
Kiefer Sutherland being Jack Bauer, and when that's going on screen, it's great. When I watch the rest of the actors or the scenes without Kiefer, I'm just like, you know what? They're all not that great actors, and the writing's kind of bad, and the story kind of sucks. But when Kiefer's on screen doing Kiefer's thing, it's really good. So maybe that's just Kiefer. Maybe I just love Kiefer that much. But
I would also add that I really love Heller, and I really love Chloe on the show. I think this season they're all the big standouts. But I think this season, for the most part, I need to give it credit for casting. The writing is silly, but I think Benjamin Bratt in last week, which was his big episode, and we're going to talk about that in a second, seeing him do his switch and seeing him, at least getting to see him with his shirt off, and that guy looks awesome, man!
Oh,
I'm not hating.
I'm hating. I wasn't too impressed.
Oh, the Brat looked great, man. The Brat. So let's get into it. Let's get into talking about last week's episode first. And I'm going to yada some of last week's. But last week, a lot of interesting things happened. But 24 is a weird show in that because of the nature of the way the show happens, anything that happened before feels like yesterday's news. So it's kind of hard for me to talk passionately about what happened last week, even though I think a lot of cool stuff happened.
Yeah, some cool stuff did happen, and the problem I have is I meant to watch the episode again this morning when I woke up before we did the show, so I would be refreshed as to what happened in it. But when I came out to the living room and I sat down, somehow Grand Theft Auto 5 ended up on instead of 24.
It happens.
And then suddenly it was 4 hours later and you were calling me, so I didn't do my homework. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Fortunately, I have the crib sheet right here. So Kate does get a call from the beginning for help. He tells her right about what's happening with Navarro, that Navarro killed the computer guy that we've forgotten about by this point because we have a new computer guy. But that other computer guy from the beginning of the season, Jordan, he says he couldn't confront he couldn't get to Navarro. Navarro stole the device, and he tells Kate that the device can be used on multiple military systems and even on other countries' military stuff. So he pursues her. In pursuit, he tells Kate to track Navarro, and Kate is confused. And this is where Kate starts to get the vibe that something is up. And then we get Navarro talking with Adrian, and Adrian and Chloe's whole side story with the two of them, where Chloe's totally, yes, whatever you say, Adrian, but starting to smell a rat there. Chloe may be in love with this guy and kind of overwhelmed, but because of her just having that instinct of working for years against terrorism and knowing how dangerous this device is, once Cross gets it, Chloe has the shift in her mind where she completely realizes that this guy's evil, and she wants...
She knows at that point, she knows absolutely he's not in this for just the freedom of information or anything like that. He's in this to sell a really dangerous thing that has so far been responsible for killing hundreds of, as whatever her name was, that's now put it, hundreds of people in London with all those missile strikes.
Dr. Evil, you mean? Dr. Evil Catelyn Starr?
This is evil. This is Dr. Evil.
Could you do me a favor, Joe? On the top half, turn your internet settings down a little bit because your voice is crackling a little bit on the internet. Anyway, sorry about that. So basically, Cross is telling Yates that, or telling Chloe that Yates stole the device, and he gives her one of those. You know what? With a government that has weapons of mass destruction shouldn't be much of a government, should there, Chloe? And if I control that power, I'm on a different blah 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 blah. And Chloe's just like, yeah, sure, whatever you say, Cross, whatever. And it's pretty interesting. Kate. And he says he has to give the files, once he gets the files, to the Chinese to pay for the operation that they've been going through. And it's worth the cost. He says in a world she would have wanted Prescott, pulls the son and mentions the son and husband thing. He wouldn't want to have Faith. He says that they're so close to making their dreams come true, and he takes her in his arms, but she definitely looks like she's not buying the bullshit anymore, as Joe was saying. He asks her, "Are you with me?" And she says, yes. which I thought was a good Chloe moment, because so much in these shows, Ned Stark, books, these dumbasses confront the bad guys with the fact that they know that they're bad guys and when it's the wrong time. Chloe very intelligently decides not to clue Cross in at this moment that she's onto his bullshit, because she wants to try to do something. Somehow I have to get Jack in on this. I need to get Jack in on this. So we get after our commercial break, we get Gavin, our new computer guy, and he's all calm. It's a funny scene between him and Jack, where he's real calm, giving Jack the lowdown of what's going on, and Jack's just like crazily going, "Wah, wah, 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 wah. Oh my God, we gotta take care of this whole situation." He's like, "Okay, Jack. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry, Dave. You don't want to do this, Dave." And Navarro shuts down all the access to the cameras as this guy's trying to get them back up. Jack finds Navarro and he fires on them, and this is where we get into a big. Do you remember this, Thea? We get the street fire battle between Navarro and Jack, and Navarro pulls out an Uzi and starts doing.
Out of nowhere. Where did this come from?
Yeah, where'd you get a Uzi?
Like raided the armory for that too.
So Jack is closing in on him, but Navarro gets away with the thanks to the Uzi and all that sort of stuff. And then he's sent to this trash compactor thingy to retrieve an envelope, and he's told to drop the device and go. Where I thought this is where I agree with you. Brat kind of showed his stupidity here. He probably should have just gone off on his own. Did he really think this guy was going to help him out? I mean, he gave him money, but it's like, where's my car? Hello? What did you think was going to happen? You dropped the device.
And he knows exactly what he has at this point with him. He knows he has the ability to hack into any military system on the planet with him. And he's going to give Adrian Cross for a fucking passport and a ride out of England? Really? Like, the amount of people contact that he must have access to, where he could have he could try to get in touch with. It's unbelievable to me that this guy, who had been selling secrets for so long and had to go through all that, didn't already have an escape plan set up that didn't involve Adrian Cross. In case Adrian Cross got fucking nailed. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. This is supposed to be a smart head of the CIA kind of guy, you know?
Yeah, Navarro was playing a lot of stupid moments. We're having a little bit of a connection issue with you right now, Joe. If you want to disconnect, and I'll invite you right back in. When you listen to this back, you'll hear that you sounded like sound a little.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix it on send. I don't know what you were asking me to do.
Okay, there's we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later. But disconnect for a second, and I'll invite you back in. See if that helps. And so we'll go to Navarro sends the trash thing, but he asks to go to his car. Where's the car? And there's no answer. So Chloe and Adrian pick up the device and they walk away. Now Navarro goes running down in a panic, and the TAC team surrounds him. And before you know it, Navarro is trapped, and it looks like he is in trouble, and everyone's going to capture him. And Jack Bauer gets behind him and is like, "Rah, I'm Jack Bauer. Get out of my face. You better watch out. Don't stand up or I'll kill you, motherfucker. Don't even think about it." It's like Brat thinks he has a chance at survival, except for when Bauer shows up, because Bauer is he knows that he can't fuck with Bauer. He knows everybody else, and that's safe. He knows that he can control everybody else because he's trained all these people. Bauer is the stick in the mud, so to speak, that he can't account for, and it's a dangerous situation. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. We haven't done this in a little bit. You know, you take 2 weeks off and the whole technical thing goes to shit. That's what happens. That's what happens, folks. The technology goes to shit. We got Joe back. But so he sees someone with a bag over his shoulder. This is one of those weird parts in the episode, Joe, where okay, we captured Brat, and Jack Bauer has him. "Oh, don't you move. I'm going to kill you, Jack Bauer." And he has the TAC team get Navarro, and Jack kind of like runs off and then just looks at a crowd of random people, like 1,000 people, a couple hundred people, and he's just looking at each person until he sees one with a backpack, and then he chases after them.
It must be him.
Yeah, it must be him. Did Jack Bauer get bit by the wolf that bit Jack Nicholson and Wolf and get like wolf eye?
He could smell him. He could smell the sweat and fear as he was running from him.
And connection is much better right now.
Good.
Yeah, but so it was pretty ridiculous scene, and he runs after him and ends up getting to the train where Chloe sees him right outside the train, and he gets right up to it as Chloe and Cross are skating off right out of Jack Bauer's reach. It's not many people that can get out of Jack Bauer's reach, but Cross was able to do this, and he calls in and tells the CIA to track the train now. Jack is told that the emergency brake was triggered and 2 people escaped, and they're basically lost. And this is where Eric Ritter comes back from his disappearance in the middle of the season, where I know he got blown up. But this is my thing. If Eric Ritter was to disappear for like a big part of the middle of the season because he was supposedly injured in the blast, How would he be ready a few hours later to go back to duty if he wasn't available right afterwards? If he only had, his injuries were either so bad that he needed to be in bed rest probably for a while rather than just like a big chunk of hours, because he doesn't seem to have any visible wounds. It's not like he just had his arm treated or something. He just literally disappeared for a few hours when the script didn't need him. So, but he's back.
A big bash on the head or something. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe we missed it, but so he's in charge now with the CIA, and Kate tells Ritter he's the ranking office. He calls for the attention and tells the CIA staff that Navarro's been arrested and for theft of the device and for Jordan's murder. He tells them that getting the device back is the number one priority. Kate asks Gavin to check out Jordan's system to see if there was anything that triggered Navarro to kill him, because she's starting to get the spider sense that something's up here. This is where we see President Heller, and President Heller is having a drink. He's taking a drink, which is going to be handy when we get into talking about last night's episode, because President Heller definitely seemed a little off his game last night, like in the hours from 9 to 10. But in the hours from 8 to 9, Heller's celebrating a little bit. He got out of the whole situation. He's having a drink with Audrey, and she says he can't mix alcohol with his medication. And he says, whatever. Whatever. This is my last day as president. I'm resigning tomorrow. Jack Bauer's on the case now.
Still on? Do you think he's still resigning tomorrow? I think he was resigning because he was about to get himself killed.
No, I think if we watched back, he comes to a realization that as soon as his condition's going to go public because enough people know about it now, it got out, that even if his condition isn't going to truly manifest for a few years, he'll spend the last 2 years of his presidency. That's a long pregnancy. Dealing with this on an everyday basis. So he said, instead of dealing with this, nothing's going to get done in this country. I just want to do this one last mission and then retire on my own terms rather than getting forced out with a lot of bullshit. So I think either way, I think that's why he basically decided to kill himself, because he was like, I just want to go out in the hell of glory. But I still think that's on. I think he is going, when he goes home, he's going to give the office to the vice president.
Oh yeah, I see that. Sure.
So President Heller says he can't drink, and he says whatever. And she says Air Force One is fueled and ready, and Audrey says that he shouldn't blame himself what happens, and he tells Audrey that the Secret Service that he's to go notify the vice president that he's ready to make the announcement that he's going to be president and that he should be ready to take over, basically what we were saying. Bordeaux comes in and says Ritter from the CIA needs to talk to him. Ritter says that the device was stolen and that Adrian Cross has it now, and that station chief Navarro stole it. And Jimmy Cooper, Bordeaux is just like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
No. You need to yada yada through this episode a little quicker because there was so much that I had.
I know.
Like, last night, because last night was good.
I hear you, and a lot. I do tend to talk a lot, so I know Joe isn't as clued into what happened last week, so I'm gonna kind of rant through.
Like I remember Bordeaux calls the Russian, and then he tries to call him back. Oh no! Oh, I gave you Jack Bauer's secret code, but don't use it yet. He's doing an important mission. Asshole! He's been doing an important mission the whole fucking time.
Yeah, I love that how he
important mission 10 minutes before you gave out that code. Like,
I love how he did that. I love how he kind of leaves the break up with the Russian guy on the phone thing. He's like, I'm sorry. I know I gave you Jack Bauer's information, but if you could just ignore that, please.
Yeah.
And then if
you gave you that girl's number, but she's going through a hard time. She don't want guys calling her yet.
And if you connect that with what happened last night when he showed up at the door, I'm surprised he even got let into the front door because the Russian guy is just an idiot for following this. So I think that's an important thing to talk to you about. I also thought what was funny from last week to talk to you, they probably remember, is the couple of times that Ritter tried to talk shit to Jack Bauer, and he's like, and Jack Bauer's just like, listen, you idiot.
Yeah. That was only a courtesy. I wasn't asking you. Fucktard.
Yeah, come on, you idiot. Just so you know, I wasn't asking. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Right.
I'm Jack Bauer.
You got to remember, you take commands from your superior. I take commands from only the president, so you listen to everything I tell you to do. Anything I say to you is just because I need to vocalize it for the audience behind that camera.
You see that piece of paper in my pocket? That's a presidential pardon for anything I do today. So go fuck yourself. Basically. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to yada through this a little bit. Heller tells Jack that they fully support him as he has to handle the situation and to stand down Air Force One and to keep counter for any countermeasures that might happen based on this. Now, Gavin tells Kate that Jordan was restoring the files. Basically, all of this leads up to Gavin telling Kate that Navarro was the one that set up her husband and that he was the one selling the secrets to China. Basically what we knew earlier. And Kate finds out, and Kate goes ape shit. Navarro gets dragged in. She runs after him like, motherfucker, you fuck with the wrong motherfucker. She is right from the beginning, like on him and wants to beat the shit out of him. And this is when what we were just talking about. Ritter comes in and goes, oh yeah, we're gonna. He might know something, so we're gonna get our interrogators down here to do their thing. And Jack Bauer's like, listen, you should let me talk to him because he doesn't care about anything you guys have to say. He knows your protocols. He knows what you're gonna do. He doesn't know what I'll do. He knows my reputation. Let me in there. And Ritter's like, and this is where Ritter's like, okay, that seems like but if you cross the line, I'll pull you. And that's where Jack says that line. Listen, buddy, I only asked out of courtesy. And he goes over to Kate because he finds out what's going on. He finds out about that situation. He asks Ritter, what's that all about, that Kate's freaking out and wanting to kill Navarro. And he goes to Kate. She's in tears. He walks closer and he says her husband's name is cleared. She says we get the information that it's too late because her husband hung himself a month into his life sentence because Navarro framed him. And that he was so upset that the last time she saw him, he realized that she didn't believe him anymore, and that was the moment he realized he wanted to kill himself. And she's really feeling all that. She's got all sorts of feels on that, and she realizes that she fucked her own husband over or Navarro screwed her whole life up, ultimately. So Ritter tells Jack to remember the ground rules before he goes in there. Jack comes in there, and Navarro's basically just being a prick to him, sitting in there with his shirt off, being like, I got a better body than you, Sutherland.
Right, I'm holding all the cards. I know where everything is, and he's basically trying to bluff his way out of this because he has no clue where Adrian is, where the device is, or anything.
No. This is one thing you probably don't remember. He says he does know how to find Adrian because
right, but he doesn't.
No, he does. He put a tracking device. That's how they find it later.
Oh, right. I forgot him. Yeah, and that was in last night's episode too.
So he put a tracking device in the item. So he does have a chip. And he's like, the only thing that I'm gonna get out of here is immunity. Give me full immunity, a plane ticket out of here, and I'll give you the information. And Jack's like, listen, I'll give you I'm gonna try to be nice one last time, buddy. Tell me what you know. And the guy's like, no, listen, Bauer, I know you're not going to do anything. And he goes, all that I want is immunity. And Jack goes, listen, immunity's not on the table, but guess what? Your hand is. And then he just starts beating the crap out of his hand, just breaks, smashes, crushes this guy's hand. And it was one of an awesome Jack Bauer scene where he's just like, Jack was all into the wisecracks lately. Like, he's getting more wisecracky. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then, everybody barges in the room and, stop it, oh no. I'm pretty sure that nobody's ever going to hear about this, that the interrogation techniques the floor below are much worse than breaking Benjamin Bratt's fucking hand on a table.
We already saw them at the beginning of the season with Chloe. They're injecting her with shit.
Right. I'm not sure where this guy gets off being like, oh no, don't hit him. Are you kidding me? There's no rights here for this guy. He's going to Guantanamo Bay. He's not going to America.
He's going to that prison that Bane's from. He's going to that.
Exactly. This isn't. Exactly. He's going down the well.
He's not going to any normal prison. He doesn't have rights, and I agree with that. I think that's just Ritter trying to protect his ass on his first day of the job, and
that's just it. It's not his first day on the job. It's his first hour on the job, and the things that he's seen from it's not even his first hour. It's his first 10 minutes on the job since they got rid of fuckface Brat back in the I'm just so furious right now.
You got to
Sorry.
figure. That's okay. You got to figure that kid's shitting his pants a little bit though.
No,
And
I gotta figure he wouldn't be. He would be gung-ho, cut his fucking fingers off. Let's get the information we need so London stops blowing up. So that the Chinese carrier in the Mediterranean doesn't explode from nuclear missiles and shit. Like
what I think you have here, and I see what you're saying. I think the problem was that they had a little bit of character regression with him. They made him a little bit more in this episode like he was in the first couple episodes before his change in believing in Kate Morgan and following her mission. They made him for whatever stupid reason, they made him that guy that was like, oh, Bauer, I used to follow your missions back in grade school. They made him that guy again for a second, and it didn't make any sense in the script because in last night's episode, which we'll get to, he was so cool. He was cool again. He was like, Jack, whatever you need to do. He was basically like,
Kinda. He was like barking at last night. He's barking at the computer guy to work harder and work faster. No shit. Like he didn't actually do anything last night. He just stood there and looked worried and frantic. Okay, I'll do anything Jack Bauer tells me to do. That's still being a number two. That's not taking charge. And as far as him taking charge goes, he didn't take charge. He sat there and he floundered on the floor.
I'll disagree with you about this because I think in the episode that we're talking about now, yes. But in last night's episode, I think there's something to be said about what good leadership is knowing what to do with your best players and knowing when to back off. And basically he's being a head coach that's saying, listen, my best bet now at this point is just to let Jack do everything.
That's what the president has told him to do.
That's the smartest thing to do, and he's listening to him. Last night, in this situation, he tried to stand up to Jack and tried to show Jack he had balls and he was in charge. But by this point, after Jack bitch slapped him and he learned again that Jack's the man, last night he was dick whipped, and he was just like, Bauer, whatever you say, Bauer, whatever you say.
This guy's the number two. This guy who just showed up at the place to replace what's her name for a few weeks. He's the number two in charge. So when Benjamin Bratt goes down, like he takes over all of a sudden. Like
they said
he's a moron.
They said that in the first episode. Yeah, exactly. It should have been Kate, but because of her demotion, this guy got brought in to be the new Kate Morgan. And you're right. He's an idiot. So Mark we go to Mark saying to drop the immunity. And Jack doesn't get. Basically, this leads into, I'm going to yada yada through this. Jack and Kate set Brad up where Kate goes in there, breaks into the hospital where Brad is, and makes him think like they play a little game of bad cop, worst cop.
Okay, wait. Just before this, Jack talks about how Benjamin Bratt is trained and he can withstand interrogation techniques, and that's why he went in there and broke the guy's fucking hand. Because Benjamin Bratt is this super ex-guy who can withstand all sorts of interrogation techniques, and he can hold out for weeks or months if he wants, because that's how hardcore Benjamin Bratt's character is. She comes in, and 5 minutes later he's spilling the fucking beans. For what? Because she's like, I'm going to kill you now? Really?
Good point. They definitely
isn't that what he's trained to withstand? Is I'm going to kill you now, or I'm going to torture you now, or I am torturing you, and soon to follow will be your death.
But that would be a question for people that are actually trained in that stuff, in the sense of is it that he's trained in the sense that he knows all the CIA tactics, that knows that he could withstand everything but death, because he knows that they never go so far that he couldn't come back. And in that situation, he actually believes, because of what he did to Kate, that Kate's going to kill him. So in that situation, he's actually fearing for his life. We have seen that this guy,
but his life is over. His life is already over.
No, he's thinking he's getting the immunity. No, he's thinking he's going to get the immunity agreement. In fact, at this very time that this is happening, the president is thinking about signing the immunity agreement. So he's this close to actually getting away with this shit.
That's the kind of thing you say. See, law enforcement is allowed to lie to you, but you're not allowed to lie to law enforcement. That's the way the law is written. It's fucked up, but that's the way the law is written. And these guys aren't just law enforcement. They're super law enforcement. They're the president of the United States. So, yeah, okay, here's your presidential pardon. I signed it. But guess what? 2 minutes later, I'm going to tear the fucking paper up, and I'm going to put a bullet in your head.
That's
They're
what
gonna
I
kill you
do.
with a drone strike as you walk down the street. What the fuck? Like, there's
But
no
we're,
there's no
but we're,
immunity for this guy. The CIA is gonna go out and shoot him in the head when he's walking down the street a week later.
but we're president with Alzheimer's. Maybe he'd forget.
Yeah.
So they set him up with a little bad cop, worse cop sort of situation, as I said, where they get him to spill his guts, and it's a little weak, but it's a good setup, and it was a pretty exciting moment because I didn't know what was going on at the time from a television standpoint. I thought Kate really was going to shoot him. I almost expected that scene to end with Jack shooting Kate.
Uh,
I've
I knew
seen.
that wasn't gonna happen. I kind of saw it as for what it was. I knew that it was a good cop, bad cop moment. As soon as Jack burst in the room and took aim on her, he wants him dead too. You know, and I don't think Jack Bauer thought for a second that he was going to tell her. Well, of course they did because that was the plan, and it worked. Of course it worked. He got all scared that little Miss Blondie was going to shoot him.
So Mark, and our Mark Bordeaux storyline with this is Mark gets angry. Mark calls the Russians because out of jealousy and tells them tells them out of jealousy that he knows Jack. He has a tracker on Jack Bauer and can lead them to Jack Bauer. So he gives that information. As we mentioned this earlier, later when he feels bad about the situation, he calls them back and says, "Oh, forget that. Jack Bauer's on a mission." When he finds out the situation about him and them breaking Brat and figuring out the location of the device. So one of the intern people call Adrian, and we get the whole Adrian Cross situation, and Adrian Cross is being like, does Chloe know what's going on? Shh, don't say anything. And Chloe tries to steal the device and run off, and this random guy in the truck, she runs up to the truck, and he just says, "Fuck you," and drives off. I thought that was funny.
Oh, no, didn't Adrian start shooting at him?
He did. He shot at the truck, and then the guy just drove off. Would you drive off? Would you leave the girl once the gun?
If someone was shooting at me?
Yep.
Yeah.
You think so?
You drive off and you call the cops.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna not drive off? You're gonna sit there and get shot?
I don't know. He has a handgun. You have a Mack truck sort of thing. Couldn't you just like?
No, bullets go through windows, dude. This isn't Grand Theft Auto. Even in Grand Theft Auto, the bullets go through windows.
I know. Oh, it's horrible. I'm thinking like Batman, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking like 24, where people get hit by cars and you have people like running toward gunfire and not getting shot.
Those are the stars, dude. Those are the main guys, not the red shirts. The red shirts go down, man. The red shirts go down, and that's all there is to it. Now, and I'm pretty sure if you rewind it and watch, that plaid shirt the trucker's wearing might be red.
I'm pretty sure it was actually. So basically, all that leads up to him kidnapping Chloe, and I'm going to totally yada yada here. They show up back at the WikiLeaks location, the new location. They show up in there, and everyone's dead. Like everyone except for one guy that's still choking on his blood. And it's like a really nasty, horrible horror movie type scene that they walk into. And Cross is like, "Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here." And she's kind of stalling. And
yeah, Chloe's just like deer in the headlights at that point.
Yep. And who is it? Suddenly shows up, let alone one of our last remaining big 24 villains that's still out there in the world. Chang is back. Yes,
He was supposed to be dead, right? Like I don't know the backstory with Chang. All I know is what they talked about in the last 2 episodes. So
yeah, basically they gave you the whole backstory. He's the guy that kidnapped Jack Bauer. He worked for the Chinese consulate, and he kidnapped Jack Bauer at a point in time for some shit Bauer did, and tortured him for a year. And then Audrey.
How did they do that? How did they do that? That was like between seasons. Previously on, Jack's been getting tortured for a year.
Yep, absolutely. No, it was at the end of a season he gets captured, I believe, or something like that, and then it's in the break between seasons he was been tortured this whole time. And also he is also the guy that when Jack was let go after Audrey went looking for him, they captured Audrey and tortured Audrey as well. And this guy was at one point betrayed by his government and sent to prison, and they thought he died in prison on an escape attempt. But nope.
Apparently, someone else took the place.
The Chinese show up, and it's Chang. And once Chang showed up, I knew what was about to happen, that Chang was going to kill Cross. That Cross was...
Yeah, he was interim bad guy. He wasn't bad enough. Nobody cared. Everybody wanted him dead anyway. His
Yep.
stupid, raspy voice.
Yeah. Everyone wants to hurt him.
The spoon.
It's that guy's fault. Brandon Lee's dead. I mean, everybody knows it.
Fucking bastard.
Yeah, he did it. He did it. And
he was the one that loaded the prop gun.
Yeah, it was his fault. He was the one that did it. Oh, so Open Cell is gone. Open Cell has been destroyed. But
it destroyed completely. Everybody but in Open Cell is dead, with the exception of Chloe.
Chloe, yep. Open Cell has been retired. So Jack is released the U.S. who, yeah, blah blah blah. That's the backstory. So Chang's men set up the device as Adrian Cross asks Chloe who he is. Chloe gives us our backstory as Adrian gets shot in the leg, and they make Chloe kind of try to figure out, you know, the computer stuff. Do it or I'll kill him. But you're going to kill him anyways. Who cares? So this is where Ritter tells Jack not to hesitate to call for backup if they need him. And this is where the second time that, as Jack's approaching the situation, this is the second time that Jack kind of snaps at Ritter in the episode, goes, listen, worry about your job. I'm fine. And yep. So Chang pressures her. Basically, Chloe tries to set up a little virus in the computer device to disarm it, and they were mirroring her computer screen, which seems like a stupid mistake by Chloe at the moment because she seems like she's smarter not to realize that someone might be cloning her screen or something like that. But whatever. They figure out what's going on. They hack into the system as far as they need, and they kill Adrian Cross. And before Adrian Cross is killed, this is a little weird, and someone else mentioned this on another podcast, but I thought this was an interesting point. Adrian tells her that I found documents to prove that your husband and son them being killed was actually really an accident.
Yeah, no. I kind of thought that was... I thought at first that was strange, but then I thought, no, this guy actually had feelings for Chloe. It wasn't just... And like, he developed feelings for her. He wanted her help and knew who she was and knew she was a computer genius. And so the way that he went about recruiting her was by making her believe that when her family died in this accident, it was to try to kill them to get at her or to kill her.
Absolutely.
And it was to manipulate her into doing all this government espionage kind of computer hacking that she's been doing and programming that she's been doing. And without that like conspiracy theory and oh yeah, I'm going to help you find these guys, he might not have been able to keep her around for so long.
I agree with you 100%. I guess the thing that strikes me as a little weird is what documentation did he find to prove it was really an accident? It would be easier to find documentation to prove that it wasn't an accident. How do you know? You know what I mean? Like,
well, maybe that's just it. There's a lack of absolutely anything else
to prove that it was because of the Jack. What she said at the beginning, to prove anything that it had anything to do with, because she knew where Jack Bauer was, which is what he told her.
Right. And I think he's been holding that secret for a long time, and with the feelings that he did develop for her, and he sees that everybody in this place has already been murdered and killed from his actions, I think he's feeling a little bit that...
Joe froze for a second. It's weird. If you can hear me, Joe, you froze for a second, which was really interesting because it's stuck on an individual picture of you. I'm going to put that picture up because it looks really cool. But Joe got held up mid-thought here. So the end of this episode, Chang gets the naval system interface going on with the device, and he gets the order to draft an order for a nuclear sub to fire on something. And at the same time, Jack and Ritter are approaching the Open Cell headquarters, try to recapture the device. And as they're approaching, a firefight ensues as right as they're approaching, a truck comes and pounds right into the side of the truck and knocks them unconscious, and they're like, "What the hell is going on here?" And they both, like I said, dust themselves off and exit the truck and get into a whole big gunfight with the Russians that have come to, which we don't know right away that they're Russians, but we can hear the Russian accents in the background, and they're firing on Jack and Kate, and Jack and Kate just roll out and get into a big gunfight with them, and it's they're right there where the Chinese are inside about to approach the building. The Russians are right there firing on them, and right at the end, they fire and they get the orders on the USS Massachusetts. It had to be the Massachusetts, didn't it? And bam, that's it, folks. We get, at the end of the episode, we get the sub, boom, blowing up. And that's the end of our episode. That's the end of our 24 from 8 to 9 p.m. A lot of interesting things happened. Joe is, let me eject Joe for a second. Are you sure you eject Joe from the call? Yes. You will eject Joe. Do you also want? No, I don't want to block him. So right now we're going to start talking about the episode from last. There we go. So last night's episode was at